Welcome to Mindset Matters Book Club YouTube channel. Please subscribe and like to hear new book summaries. Today, we are diving into a deep pool of modern psychological research. We're tackling a topic that I think affects every single one of us. Why focus just feels like this fleeting dream. Why we all suffer from this constant restlessness. And why getting truly excited about our biggest life goals seems, I don't know, almost impossibly hard sometimes.
It really does.
We are doing a deep dive into Thibaut Meurisse's really compelling book, Dopamine Detox, a short guide to eliminate distractions and train your brain to do hard things.
You know, that book title, it just completely nails the core challenge of living today, doesn't it?
It really does.
Focus, truly deep, uninterrupted focus has become one of the world's most scarce commodities. If you find yourself in that cycle of, underperformance.
I think we all do sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Constantly delaying important work, creative work, in favor of just checking your phone or endlessly scrolling. If that sounds familiar, then this deep dive is specifically for you.
And Meurisse argues that this daily pattern, this constant low-level distraction we all do, it's not just a benign habit, is it?
No, not at all. He says it actively, it erodes our self-esteem. It leads to this massive sense of frustration.
Right, because our biggest goals just keep slipping away. So today our mission isn't to just complain about it.
Exactly. We're here to pull out the core methodology from the book. There's a simple, really actionable 3-step approach for overcoming what Meurisse calls the invisible mental barrier that just seems to pop up between you and your most important tasks.
And so important to understand that this isn't just about willpower or a lack of grit.
No. The book gives us a neurological framework. It explains that this barrier is actually rooted in a physiological state of constant overstimulation. We've kind of accidentally trained our brains to reject difficult, focused work.
Okay, so we're going to unpack exactly how that happens. We're going to figure out why, tackling a complex spreadsheet seems agonizingly difficult, but checking every single red notification on your phone seems infinitely more compelling. Yes. Okay, let's unpack this, and let's start with the chemical driver behind this whole thing. Dopamine.
Right, so dopamine, it's a chemical that's really entered the public conversation, but it's often talked about inaccurately.
Yeah, everyone calls it the pleasure chemical.
Exactly. And the book forces us to clarify its role right away. Dopamine is not a chemical of pleasure. It is a neurotransmitter that drives anticipation.
Anticipation?
Yes, it's the motivational push. It's the force that makes us act. Whether that action is, seeking food, exploring new places, or finding a partner.
And this whole mechanism is it's deeply rooted in our survival as a species.
It is. It gave our ancestors the desire they needed to take action when things were scarce. If you were hungry, dopamine released, giving you that drive to hunt or gather.
So you'd put in the effort because of the reward that was coming.
Precisely. Without that motivational chemical, we would have just sat around passively. Survival would have been impossible. It's a huge reason we're all here today.
Okay, so this is where that crucial distinction comes in, the one that so much pop psychology gets wrong. This is where it gets really interesting, right?
This is it. The book makes it crystal clear that the release of dopamine does not guarantee pleasure or, and this is the important part, lasting fulfillment.
Okay, I have to say, that rings profoundly true. But if dopamine isn't a pleasure chemical, why do we feel so compelled to chase that dopamine hit when a notification pops up? Is there a temporary blend with other pleasure chemicals that we're missing?
That's a fantastic question. Dopamine is responsible for the wanting, the seeking, the excitement, the motivation to go get the reward, the actual liking, the pleasure and fulfillment that involves other neurochemicals, things like opioids and serotonin.
Oh, okay.
The problem is that the seeking process, the anticipation itself, can become so rewarding on its own that the moment you actually get the reward, it becomes anticlimactic.
I see.
The book notes that if you pay really close attention, the instant the expected reward is obtained, many people often feel, empty and unfulfilled.
That describes the crash perfectly. You spend 45 minutes falling down some rabbit hole of videos, and when you finally come up for air, you realize you haven't done anything, and you actually feel worse than when you started.
Yes.
So that constant seeking of the next source is what Meurisse calls the stimulation trap.
Precisely. We are constantly in the seeking state, just moving from one anticipated reward to the next. The fundamental reality the book lays bare is that No amount of external stimulation is ever going to bring this sense of lasting fulfillment that we're all craving.
Because fulfillment is internal.
It's an internal state, not an external prize. Yet modern life is basically structured to keep us constantly chasing that external trigger. We're always wanting more and more and, never actually feeling satisfied.
And the more we live in that state of wanting, the higher our baseline level of stimulation becomes.
Exactly. And the consequence of that is immediate and severe for anyone trying to achieve ambitious goals. When you're operating in this state of constant low-level stimulation, any task that requires deep concentration,
Like writing a book.
designing a financial model, any serious analytical work, it is instantly perceived by the brain as boring, tedious, and just immensely challenging.
Because the brain has been calibrated to this artificial level of excitement.
Right. It actively rebels against the low stimulation work that's necessary for success. And this leads directly, inevitably, to procrastination. It's not a moral failing. It's a physiological response to an overstimulated baseline.
So if our brains see effortful work as dull, we're already starting every day at a massive disadvantage if we've already, checked our phones. This whole framework clearly shows why it feels like the digital world is conspiring against us.
Which brings us directly to the mechanism of the hijack.
Okay, let's talk about that. The molecule of more.
Right. Building on that definition, we need to understand why Meurisse calls dopamine the molecule of more. This neurotransmitter, which was designed to push us toward, essential survival tasks, creates this self-reinforcing addictive cycle when it's constantly triggered.
So the more stimulation an action provides, the novelty, the speed, the intensity, the more we crave the next hit.
And it's often a stronger hit. This cycle is foundational to addiction because the brain begins to build tolerance. The book notes that by continuously triggering dopamine, we strengthen our neural pathways for addiction.
Meaning we need stronger, faster, and more intense stimuli to get that same feeling of anticipated reward.
We are constantly raising the bar on what we consider exciting.
And the book really expands the definition of addiction way beyond just substances, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's far beyond drugs and alcohol. The book states that addiction is simply the repeated, compulsive engagement in a behavior that gives you temporary relief or stimulation, even if there are negative long-term consequences.
And the list he gives is surprisingly long. It includes things we might even see as normal or maybe even healthy. Things like excessive gambling, compulsive shopping, extreme exercise.
Or even obsessive workaholism and just incessant rumination, just thinking in circles.
The test he gives is pretty stark. If you cannot spend a single day without engaging in a certain activity, you might be highly dependent on that source of stimulation.
And that test applies to pretty much everyone with a smartphone.
Yeah.
This brings us to the modern battleground, our attention. Focus is a finite asset, and apps, media companies, digital platforms, they are explicitly designed to hook you. Your attention is their multi-billion-dollar product.
And their primary weapon is the notification loop. It's so insidious. When that red pop-up appears on your screen, an email, a heart, a comment, it immediately hijacks your prefrontal cortex.
It creates this immense anticipation for a reward when you click it, triggering that dopamine release.
So it's the anticipation, not even the content of the message itself, that's the real reward.
That's it. You're training your brain to seek these intermittent variable rewards. The temporary relief you feel when you check the notification just reinforces the whole loop. And the refinement of this process is, frankly, shocking. Companies employ incredibly sophisticated algorithms to keep that cycle spinning.
I fell for this just the other day. I was researching a really niche historical topic. I watched one video, and the algorithm immediately fed me 10 more perfectly tailored suggestions.
It's designed for that, a never-ending loop of consumption.
Yeah.
The author's conclusion here is pretty blunt. We have to recognize that instead of consciously using the internet for specific things, for a lot of people, the internet is passively using them. It hijacks their focus, makes them restless, and just drains their productivity.
It's a consumption engine with no off switch.
None.
But the book also points out this hijacking isn't just limited to our screens. It dives into how the food industry uses the exact same biological mechanism.
Right. Historically, food anticipation was critical for survival. Our biology evolved to find sugar and fat immensely rewarding because they were rare and provided crucial calories.
But the problem today is that food is hyperabundant, and its composition is engineered.
Exactly. The food industry capitalizes on that ancient desire. They add refined sugars and specific fats to make food hyper-palatable to encourage craving. They are knowingly tapping into our reward system.
And the book cites Professor Suzanne Klaus, who found that the specific combination of sugar and fat is especially effective in stimulating the brain's reward system, which leads to overconsumption.
And then the need for more. This leads Meurisse to acknowledge the ongoing and often pretty heated debate around sugar addiction. He takes a very neutral stance by presenting conflicting expert opinions, which is, I think, crucial for a balanced deep dive.
It is important because the word addiction carries a lot of weight. He mentions Dr. Robert Lustig, who compares sugar's addictive quality to nicotine. He suggests it causes habituation and tolerance, but he stops short of comparing it to, hard drugs.
And this is where the nuance is so important. Dr. Ziauddine clarifies that while the brain's reward systems respond to both food and drugs, hard drugs hijack those systems and turn off their normal controls in a much more complete way. The addictive potential of something often depends on how fast it enters the system and takes effect. A quick, intense high is generally more addictive than, say, a slower, metabolically processed food reward.
And then on the other side, you have experts like Tom Sanders, who called the hard drug comparison absurd. He noted that people don't typically experience clinical withdrawal symptoms when they cut out sugar.
Right. The consensus seems to be that while sugar isn't heroin, it undeniably triggers that dopamine anticipation loop, encouraging that more and more feeling.
And at the end of the day, whether you call it addiction or dependency, the functional result is the same, isn't it?
Exactly the same.
Right.
It constantly raises your stimulation baseline. And this elevated state makes anything that's low stimulation, i.e. your actual work, feel boring and impossible to start. That elevation is the ultimate culprit behind our lost focus.
So we have this chemical system that's constantly seeking these immediate rewards. But what is the highest cost of this mechanism? The book argues it's the catastrophic erosion of our ability to think long-term.
That is the hidden consequence. Study after study shows that the ability to delay gratification and focus on future rewards is the single best predictor of success, both professionally and personally.
And he brings up Dr. Edward Banfield from Harvard.
Yes, his research suggested that long-time perspective, which is the capacity to project several years into the future while making decisions today, is the most important determinant of financial and personal success.
If that's the case, then our entire environment is actively fighting against this essential trait. We are constantly falling into the immediate gratification trap.
Every day in tiny micro decisions.
We know intellectually that consistent healthy eating is better, but the quick hit from sweets is just easier. We know studying or working out is critical for our future, but the instant passive entertainment from Netflix or social media wins the battle right now.
The action fails because the brain will always prefer the low-effort, immediate reward over the high-effort, delayed one.
And technology is just pouring fuel on this fire. He quotes Chamath Palihapitiya, the former Facebook executive.
A powerful testimony. He said these apps wire your brain for super-fast feedback. They train us to expect rapid, measurable results in absolutely everything we do, from our relationships to our careers.
And this conditioning, it fundamentally distorts our mental models of reality. We start to operate under these completely wrong ideas.
Erroneous concepts, yeah. We start to believe success should come quickly and easily, that weight loss should be immediate, or that you can make significant money overnight with almost no struggle.
This distortion leads to so much internal conflict. I know for me, seeing someone else's highlight reel, their overnight success, can immediately trigger feelings of jealousy and resentment.
Yes.
We start to feel inadequate. We believe we're just not good enough, smart enough, or disciplined enough to achieve our goals.
When really the only thing we lost was patience. The book is very strong on this point. Chasing the rush of motivational videos or quick fix hacks will not lead to success.
So what will?
Performing consistent daily actions sustained over a long period of time. Resisting that urge for instant feedback. Success is built on compounding interest, not winning the lottery.
To make this point tangible, the book gives this brilliant, relatable anecdote about long-term vision. Amazon.
Oh, it's the perfect example. Amazon, founded in 1994, is the definition of long-time perspective. Jeff Bezos intentionally pursued aggressive growth and reinvestment for almost a decade.
They didn't turn their first significant net profit until 2003.
A mere $35 million. Can you imagine the pressure to deliver quarterly returns during those first 9 years? But Bezos understood the importance of building robust foundations. He prioritized long-term survival and market dominance over immediate short-term profit.
That commitment to delayed gratification is what sets successful ventures apart. So the bottom line is clear. If you want to achieve anything meaningful, if you want to stop feeling so restless and frustrated,
You have to regain control of your attention. You have to eliminate the distractions that create that high baseline and actively rewire your brain for the long term.
because your focus is the most valuable asset you have.
And society is explicitly designed to steal it, and as the book says, empty your wallet as effectively and thoroughly as possible. The erosion of focus is the high price we're paying for constant convenience.
Okay, so if the erosion of long-term perspective is the high cost, then overstimulation is the root cause. Meurisse calls this the most important and most overlooked reason for procrastination.
It really is. When you start your day by checking your phone, your email, social media, you are immediately spiking your dopamine levels. You're setting a disastrous precedent for the next 8 hours.
That initial spike is the problem.
It is. The book explains this fundamental paradox. When you engage in highly stimulating activities, you raise your brain's expectation level. This makes any later activity that requires concentration appear increasingly dull and unappealing.
So your brain literally asks, why on earth would I work on this tedious proposal when I could be doing something way more exciting?
Precisely. And that gap in appeal is what the book calls the wavelength problem. You're currently operating on a fast, high stimulation wavelength that requires novelty and speed.
But the deep, focused work requires a low, slow, concentrated wavelength.
And the two have no overlap. It's like trying to go directly from a loud, frenetic rock concert into a quiet library and immediately expecting to concentrate on ancient history texts.
The stimulation level is just too high.
You need time to adjust. The greater the gap between your current high level of stimulation and the lower level of stimulation needed for concentration, the harder it is to start. He says that as a writer, if he checks his sales figures first thing, the actual task of writing feels like the most unappealing and challenging task imaginable.
And your mind, which prefers that high stimulus trance, plays these elaborate psychological tricks to keep you trapped on that high wavelength. These are the 4 stimulation traps we need to look out for.
Right. Trick #1, returning to work is easy. The mind whispers that you are completely in control. You can stop scrolling or checking stats whenever you want and just start working.
But it's a massive lie.
A total lie. The moment you are overstimulated, your ability to exert willpower just collapses. You find yourself postponing key tasks for hours, promising I'll start later, which, almost never translates into deep, meaningful work.
This trick taps into our vanity. It convinces us we have infinite willpower.
But the evidence is stacked against us. The initial decision to engage in the distracting activity, that's the failure, not the inability to stop later on.
Okay, what's the next trick?
Trick #2, you can do it later. This trap convinces you that there is plenty of time for the task. It weaponizes future time against present action.
And by indulging this habit, putting things off becomes this ingrained neural pathway.
It does. This is the trick that leads to that deep frustration years later when you look back and realize how many crucial projects were postponed indefinitely because you convinced yourself there was always tomorrow.
Okay, trick number 3.
Trick #3. Excitement equals fulfillment. The mind sells the quick fun and enjoyment of stimulating activities, the rush of novelty, the next video, the witty comment.
But this is that critical distinction we have to remember from the beginning. Excitement is fleeting anticipation. It is not fulfillment.
Exactly. Lasting fulfillment, Meurisse insists, comes from an inner sense of peace and heightened focus that you get through meaningful, difficult work.
So if you pause right now and think about the last 2 stimulating things you did, the scroll session, the fast food meal, did they genuinely improve the quality of your life 15 minutes after they ended?
If the answer is no, you fell for the third trap.
And the last one.
And finally, trick #4. You're missing out. FOMO. This is the scarcity mindset in action. The constant need to check news, emails, updates every 30 minutes. It gives us the illusion that opportunities are limited and we have to seize them now or we'll fall behind.
But the counter-argument the book offers is so liberating.
It is. Opportunities are everywhere. We are not living in a time of scarcity of information or opportunity, but one of abundance. Missing a piece of news, a viral video, or a trending topic is entirely okay.
He says he rarely reads the news.
He does, and he thrives because he knows that dedicating that mental energy to focused work creates far more meaningful opportunities than chasing fleeting information. So, being aware of these 4 traps is the necessary foundation for the methodology of the detox itself.
Okay. We've established the problem. Overstimulation and a high chemical baseline. So how do we actively break this cycle and reset the brain? Let's get into the core methodology, the dopamine detox.
Right. So the book defines the dopamine detox as the conscious reduction of stimulation to prevent overstimulation. The goal is to restore the proper state of mind to tackle major tasks.
But we need to pause here for that scientific clarification because the term itself is technically a misnomer, isn't it?
It is, and it's an important point. So if we're not detoxing from dopamine, what are we actually doing chemically?
Yeah, let's break that down.
When we're consistently overstimulated, we build tolerance. Our neural systems, specifically the dopamine receptors, they become desensitized because they're just constantly being bombarded. Therefore, the brain needs more external stimuli. A faster scroll, a more aggressive headline, a higher risk for the same amount of dopamine to be released. We are raising the required threshold for feeling motivated.
So the detox isn't about removing dopamine.
Not at all. It's about dramatically reducing external stimulation, which allows the receptors to reset. This reduction in the required threshold is what allows challenging, boring, or tedious tasks to suddenly become more appealing and easier to tackle.
That makes perfect sense. We're making our work feel exciting again by reducing the competition.
So Meurisse outlines 3 distinct types of detoxes.
He does, depending on your commitment level. The most demanding, and I would argue the most effective for a hard reset, is the 48-hour complete detox.
And the goal here is to eliminate almost all sources of external stimulation for 2 full days.
Right, to drastically reduce that overall stimulation level. The list of prohibited activities is pretty strict. It emphasizes eliminating everything that triggers high anticipation.
So that means no drugs or alcohol, no intense exercise, only gentle stretching. No internet, no movies, no music, except for pure relaxation music. No phone, no social media, no sugar or processed foods, and absolutely no video games. The goal is sensory deprivation, really, to calm the nervous system.
And when you take away all those powerful external distractions, you have to replace them with something.
You do. You have to replace them with low-stimulation, internal focus activities. The book suggests things that cultivate the here and now mindset, which we can get into later. Things like going for a contemplative walk, journaling, meditating, doing simple awareness exercises.
Or reading non-stimulating material, like philosophy or history, not, a thriller.
Exactly. And gentle stretching.
And to put that 2-day challenge into perspective, he offers a great comparison. The 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat.
Which is extreme. Complete silence, no physical contact, no reading, no writing, no phone, no exercise, and a minimal diet.
Right. Compared to that, a 48-hour detox starts to feel a lot more manageable.
Much more. The second option is the 24-hour detox. It's similar, but the book cautions that it's less effective.
Why is that?
Well, studies indicate that it often takes several days for our neural stimulation levels to truly revert to a natural lower baseline. So that extra day makes the 2-day version significantly more impactful.
Okay, and for long-term sustainability, there's a third option.
Yes, the partial dopamine detox. This one is less demanding, but it's highly effective when you practice it consistently. It just means removing only your single biggest source of non-essential stimulation.
So for Meurisse, it was YouTube.
It was YouTube. For you, the listener, it might be checking work email after 6 p.m. or that one app you just compulsively refresh. Identifying that specific time suck is the most important part.
Okay, so moving from the theory and the detox types to actually doing it, the book gives a really clear 3-step method for implementation, focusing on environmental design.
Yes. Step 1. Identify your biggest distractions. This is an exercise in clarity. You take a sheet of paper, create 2 columns. Cans activities you're allowed to do, like walking, working on key tasks, and can'ts activities to avoid, like specific social media sites or checking email.
And the guiding question here is what really defines the list. With one specific thing, if I stopped it entirely, would boost my focus and productivity most dramatically.
And once that list is finalized, the key is making it visible. A physical reminder on your desk or your screen that holds you accountable to the boundaries you've set for yourself.
Then we get to step 2.
Step 2, add friction. This step basically weaponizes a universal human trait, laziness. The principle is fundamental psychological engineering. The harder something is to access, the less likely you are to do it.
So we have to redesign our environment to make the bad habits difficult and the good ones easy?
Exactly.
I have to challenge this point, though, based on the book's extreme examples. I mean, if the author's literally putting his internet modem in a storage room that requires 12 distinct steps to get to, isn't that completely unsustainable for a typical person who needs the internet for, work and bills and just life?
That is a highly valid practical critique. And I think the 12-step test is meant as an extreme friction test. It's designed to break a deeply ingrained, impulse-driven habit, not necessarily be a permanent solution for everyone.
Okay, so what are some more practical friction points?
For most of us, the book suggests things that serve the same purpose, breaking that impulse loop. If the phone is the problem, the friction is simple. Turn off all notifications, switch it to airplane mode, or just physically put it in a separate room with the door closed.
That 5-second walk is often enough friction to interrupt the impulse.
It is. The goal is just to create enough of a barrier so your conscious mind can re-engage before the impulse just takes over.
What about digital friction?
Digitally, you can add friction by installing browser extensions like Newsfeed Eradicator or DFTube. These tools actively remove the core features designed to trap you: the infinite scroll, the video suggestions, the personalized feeds.
So it forces you to use the platform only when you have a specific intentional purpose.
Right, rather than being passively consumed by it. And we also have to use friction in reverse, reducing friction for the good behaviors.
So if the goal is writing,
Make that process frictionless. Leave your word processor open. Put your phone in the other room before you start. Use a timer. Once you begin, the mind resists stopping because stopping feels like wasted energy. You use its natural inertia to keep working.
and then the final step.
Step 3. Start first thing in the morning. This is about preventing the overstimulation before it can even begin. Checking your phone or email within the first hour of waking up almost guarantees your brain will be thrown onto that high stimulation wavelength.
And that just sets the stage for distraction and restlessness for the entire day.
Right. The book strongly advocates for establishing a simple, low-stimulation morning routine that's designed to deepen focus and ground you, not stimulate you.
So things like meditating, stretching, listening to relaxation music, or just writing down 3 goals or gratitudes.
Exactly. That protected low-stimulation start is the most crucial foundation for a productive, focused day.
Okay, so once the stimulation baseline is successfully lowered by the detox and the environment is redesigned with friction, the next great challenge is using that calm state to actually do the high-impact work. This requires radical intentionality through planning.
Intentionality is the opposite of reactivity. Planning the day listing, say, 3 to 5 key tasks in order of importance. It clarifies your priorities, it significantly reduces the risk of being distracted, and it makes you feel proactive and in control.
You move with purpose, not impulse.
Precisely.
And the book emphasizes these have to be the right tasks, the ones that truly move the needle forward on your long-term goals. The litmus test it provides is wonderfully stark. It immediately clarifies what has impact.
It does. If I could complete only one task today before taking a month off, what would that task be?
That question forces you to confront what is truly essential versus what is just merely urgent.
And here's the key realization that ties right back to the detox. The most important tasks are often the ones we naturally resist the most. They're challenging, they require deep mental effort, or they're just inherently boring.
So by lowering the stimulation baseline, the detox makes these essential, low-appeal tasks suddenly more accessible.
And sometimes even appealing. This intentional action leads us directly to the core of productivity, which the book summarizes in the productivity triad: focus, consistency, and impact.
Okay, let's break those down.
Focus is your ability to maintain concentration on one thing. Consistency is the habit of showing up and working on those key tasks every day, regardless of how you feel. And impact is the ability to correctly identify the tasks that will have the greatest influence on your long-term success.
Because the book's comprehensive definition of productivity is therefore
Having consistent focus on your most impactful tasks. Remove any one of those 3 elements and the whole structure just collapses.
okay, so to develop that laser-sharp focus, that ability to maintain concentration, the book gives us 5 actionable steps that rely heavily on routine and psychological triggers.
Right. Number 1 is about eliminating decision fatigue. Be at the same place, at the same time every day. This echoes the philosophy of writers like Stephen King.
Right. He sits at his desk at the same time every day and writes, whether he feels inspired or not.
You condition your mind to associate that time and place with work. You eliminate all the emotional energy it takes to decide when and where to start.
Number 2 is to choose a trigger.
Yes, a calming, short activity like making a specific tea, setting up your desk perfectly, a 5-minute stretch that signals to your brain that high-focus work is about to begin. It's a mental ramp-up.
And number 3, just get started.
This is probably the most difficult and the most crucial step. The psychological barrier to starting is often so much greater than the difficulty of the task itself.
And if you can just commit to a few minutes,
You start to build momentum, and that often leads you into that coveted flow state. The critical realization here, which the book repeats over and over, is that motivation follows action. You don't wait to feel motivated. Taking action generates the motivation you need to continue.
okay, number 4 is eliminate distractions.
Sounds basic, but it has to be applied rigorously. Turn off notifications, block distracting sites, make sure no one can disturb you for a set period. It's non-negotiable for deep work.
And finally, work without interruption.
Yes. The book suggests working in intense, continuous blocks, ideally a maximum of 45 minutes, followed by a structured 5 to 10 minute break where you stand up, stretch, grab water. This structure maximizes high-quality focus without leading to burnout.
This structured approach leads to a fascinating architectural distinction he makes about technology: the difference between open and closed systems.
This is such a powerful concept. Open systems are any application or situation that provides a continuous, never-ending, infinite supply of stimuli and distractions.
So your email inbox, Facebook, YouTube, the general web.
Exactly. They have no natural endpoint. They're designed to keep you seeking. Entering an open system guarantees you risk becoming immediately overstimulated.
And closed systems are the opposite.
Right. They offer little or no room for distractions. They force focused, linear work. Examples would be a blank Word document, a specific Excel spreadsheet you're analyzing, or a PowerPoint presentation you're building. The boundaries are defined by the work itself.
So the strategy is deceptively simple.
But immensely effective. Start your day exclusively in a closed system. Open the specific work file you need to tackle before you check your phone, before you check your email, before you even open the internet.
That tiny decision ensures your most important task is tackled while your stimulation level is still low.
It protects your focus from the moment you begin working.
The detox and the focus routines, they sound fantastic,
Yep.
but sustaining them in a world that is actively fighting for your attention, that's the ultimate test. The book wisely prepares us for the reality of relapse.
Relapsing is absolutely normal. It should be expected after a few days or weeks or months of success. The key, according to the book, is self-awareness.
Just notice it.
Notice when you start feeling restless again. Notice when your focus wavers, and just accept it without judgment. Avoid guilt or shame. Those emotions are counterproductive. Simply identify the slip and recommit to your routine immediately.
We have to internalize that the world is actively working against our focused routine. Maintaining deep focus is an act of resistance.
It is. Every marketer, every algorithm designer, every content creator is vying for your attention because your focus is incredibly valuable to them.
But that same focus is also worth a tremendous amount of value to you.
Right. When you reclaim it, you reclaim the ability to achieve your goals, to deepen your well-being, to spend truly meaningful time on your passions or with people you care about. You have a choice. Build systems to protect your focus, or remain unprepared and let everyone else dictate your attention.
And if we choose to protect it, the book advises developing a contingency plan for those moments of temptation.
A strong contingency plan involves 2 steps. First, identify your highest distraction activities, go back to that can'ts list, and vividly envision the worst-case scenario that happens when you slip up.
So, for example, checking the phone first thing leads to immediate agitation, a feeling of being behind, and finding 5 cognitive reasons not to start writing.
Exactly. And second, you mentally rehearse and visualize reacting optimally to those scenarios. You see yourself dealing with the distraction in the best way possible, maybe walking to the kitchen instead of reaching for the phone. This mental preparation builds a pre-programmed response for that exact moment of temptation.
So you're less reliant on pure willpower?
Much less. Finally, to maintain a sustainable calm system, we have to cultivate what he calls the here and now neurotransmitters: endorphin, oxytocin, and serotonin.
These are the chemicals of peace, connection, and well-being.
They operate in opposition to that high anticipation rush of dopamine. They ground us, and they reduce the risk of needing that external stimulation fix.
So what are the best practices for activating these calming chemicals?
Meditation, focusing intensely on your breathing or your 5 senses, pulling you into the present moment. Stretching, which relaxes the body and literally slows the breathing rate, calming the nervous system.
And mindfulness.
Being intensely aware of the present moment while doing mundane tasks, like eating slowly, observing the textures and tastes, or doing household chores while being fully present.
Also, contemplative walking. This isn't walking while listening to a stimulating podcast or talking on the phone.
No, it's observing your surroundings as if you're seeing them for the first time. The birds, the wind, the clouds. It breaks that cycle of internal rumination.
And critically, deep social interactions.
Yes. Putting the phone away, looking someone in the eye, and having a truly present, meaningful conversation. That activates oxytocin, the love hormone, and fosters a powerful sense of bonding and calm.
And finally, the ultimate low-stimulation activity, boredom.
Yes. The book encourages practicing doing nothing, just sitting and observing, eating in silence, or walking with no specific destination or goal in mind. This is necessary training for the mind to reset its expectation of constant external input. It allows it to become comfortable with its own company.
So this deep dive into Thibaut Meurisse's book really highlights a fundamental choice facing us every single day.
It does. You can choose to control your focus and allocate it intentionally, or you can allow marketers and algorithms to take it away from you. The power lies in recognizing that eliminating those highly stimulating, low-fulfillment activities allows the major tasks, the ones that define your life's goals, to be tackled with renewed ease and appeal.
And we have to remember that final critical distinction that underlies this entire methodology. Excitement and fulfillment are not the same things.
They're not. Excitement is the cheap, fleeting anticipation of a reward. True, lasting fulfillment comes from the deep immersion in challenging work, meaningful hobbies, or enriching relationships that lowering your stimulation baseline enables.
The path to a healthy and productive life requires committed, intentional action. The author encourages a 30-day challenge to stick to a simple daily routine,
proving to yourself that consistent, focused action builds the muscle necessary for long-term success.
And you can explore the continuation of the author's series. Immediate action for overcoming procrastination, powerful focus for developing laser-sharp focus, and strategic mindset for refining critical thinking.
But the first step is simple. Regain control of your brain. Build the foundations for success one brick at a time by choosing focus over distraction. That's the true secret.